Hello, welcome to this live stream. Nice to see you. To see you, nice. Yeah, somebody was saying they missed me saying that, so it is back by popular demand. Okay, so what is the talk called today? It is called What It Feels Like When You Have Seen Through Separation. What it feels like when you've seen through separation. So, first of all, we will speak about what separation is, and then I will go into what that feels like. Okay. So, what is separation? So when we were born, or prior to being born, there was total freedom, non-identification with anything. There was this alive presence that's experiencing itself. And then a baby was born, and this alive presence splits itself off and allows part of itself to watch through this baby and part of itself to become a world in which the baby is existing in. So it splits itself off from unity to apparent separation. But actually, it's not really separation because everything is made of it. So actually, everything is itself. Just like a dream at night, you dream and there is apparent separation. But actually, it's all made of your dream. There isn't really separation, there is just the appearance of that. So that happens, and then for the first couple of years, even though there is this apparent separation, nobody knows the separation. So presence is experiencing itself as everything. So the baby hasn't yet started feeling separate. So the presence is looking at the world, and there is no subjective place in where it is. So that the baby doesn't know, like, this is my hand and that is the world. There is this presence experiencing itself and is not separate. And then what begins to happen as the baby ages is separation begins to come in. And what separation is the idea, which then becomes an energetic expression of being located. So the sensation and idea of being located. So prior to that happens, the baby doesn't feel like it's located. It is all places and no places. It's not a name, it's not a form, it's not an idea, it's not a colour, a nationality. It's totally free. It's all possibilities. And then at a certain time, there is a seeming location that comes in, and the baby, there is a feeling of a subject experiencing something separate. And this we call in nonduality seeking. Even that initial idea we call seeking, we call the seeker. Because the initial separation is, you could say, a seeking to be located, to be defined. And then what that seeker does is it spends its rest of its life trying to define itself as a name, form, and ideas, and collections of things. So I am a good person, I have a tiny house on top of a hill, I have 4 children. All of this is a seeker attempting to define itself as something solid. And it's a bit like trying to catch air in a net. It can't quite do it because everything is always changing. So everything it defines itself as is in constant flux. So for example, one day you may feel like a good person and you have good feelings, and then the next day you run over the neighbour's cat and you have bad feelings and you feel like a bad person. So it's just an example. And your perspective of the world changes as your emotional body changes. So the world is good, the world is bad, the world is fearful. So trying to define who you are in relation to a world is a never-ending impossibility. I'm sure most of you have experienced like having an opinion, having thoughts about something, and then later down the road not believing that anymore, and then trying to deny or wipe that out of your existence because it doesn't match up with who you think yourself to be. And that becomes more prevalent now, being on the internet. So maybe if you're on the internet, on Facebook, you have an idea 10 years ago and it comes back, someone reposts it 10 years later, you're like, oh, that's not me. I don't believe, did I believe that? Oh, I can't believe I believed that. There must be some type of mistake. Because you are always trying to be something solid. So even that you acted differently, behaved differently, or had different beliefs is uncomfortable for that seeker. It always wants to maintain sameness. Same with its personality. It always wants to maintain the steady, same person. And there's 2 reasons for that. You're more successful in society if you can maintain a steady character. That tends to be. Not always. There's always contradictions. And then also it's about security. Because deep down there is a part of you that knows that is not who you are. And you're terrified of that, because if you aren't this person with a name, form, ideas, beliefs, ways of being, a house, children, if you aren't that, then who are you? And that is terrifying to the person. It's really scary to not know what or who you are, to not be able to define what or who you are. I mean, that's the sort of thing that can create seeming mental illness or breakdowns, is this existential angst of not knowing who you are. In the end, it's absolute freedom to not know who you are, because that is your nature beyond the ego, beyond the identity. And it's love. It's absolute peace and love. So ironically, what the ego, what the illusion, what the separation fears most is actually home and peace. And love is infinite possibilities, that who you are, this is so exciting, is infinite possibilities. Like, if you just try to imagine that, that's deeply relaxing, that you are infinite possibilities. You are all things. Isn't that wonderful? Didn't you always want to be someone else or something else? Haven't you always been trying to be like a better version of who you believe yourself to be? And if you take that off, you're actually everything. All of it. Every possibility. And this is deep rest and deep home. But it's terrifying to the person, because the person is set up to be something steady. To be a fixed thing. And on a character level, that's natural. So on the character wavelengths, like to be a steady sect character is most probably healthy, but that isn't who you are. And what I mean by that is like you're not gambling one day, flying here, flying there, doing this, having kids, leaving the kids. You know, that's most probably a more unhealthy way in relating to the world, but anything's possible. And that's not what we're talking about, like what's healthy or not healthy on the character level. What we're talking about is beyond that, is what you are beyond that. That you are infinite possibilities, absolute freedom. I mean, what more could you want? To not know who you are now, so therefore automatically be all that is appearing. For the seeker, though, that wants to be loved, that wants to fit in, that wants things from the world, that is terrifying. Because in order to get things, in order to be loved, it needs to know who it is. And people spend their whole lifetime or lifetimes trying to establish who they are, only to discover they're not anybody, and it never ever works out. It never lasts. Never lasts. So what does it feel like? What exactly is the title again? What it feels like. What it feels like when you have seen through separation. I mean, these titles are a little confusing because who would see through separation? That would be another identity that is seen through separation. Isn't that super confusing? Another idea would see through separation. What happens is there is a crumbling of attachment. It's kind of like the minus program. There's a crumbling of attachment to everything you believe yourself to be. And then there is a sinking or dropping or expanding back into what you are as that love. And to me, the last kind of part, it felt like an expansion. But even listen to my language. I'm saying to me, I mean, that's so confusing. It felt like an expansion, that the consciousness, the personal consciousness, and the feeling of I am stopped being inside the body and then expanded back out into everything and became everything. And then in a way there wasn't personal consciousness, the seeming personal consciousness, the seeming person I am, but it really wasn't personalized. That was a functioning. My sense of self felt like, or feels like, it's everywhere and nowhere. It's absolute love. So to me, it feels like love and this emptiness, that there's no center point. There is seemingly an angle which is being taken. So there's some form of identification with the body. It's not like I'm looking from the sky or looking from the cupboard or looking from the flowers. They're seemingly looking from this angle. But in the very instant of it, it's no places and all places. It's totally empty and full simultaneously. What it manifests like in the character is it tends to be a deep relaxation of habits and conditions because there isn't this seeker that is trying to make the habits and conditions somebody and trying to secure pleasure and avoid pain. So therefore habits, conditions, emotions, feelings appear, and they're allowed to be as they are, rather than this constant negotiator that's like, oh no, I'm feeling anger, that means I'm a bad person, or I'm feeling sad, that means I'm a bad person. Joy, hold on to it. Do not let this go. And it's not navigating its life out of fear. A lot of people are navigating from fear, like everything they're picking to do is to try and avoid fear. Like the navigation feels like it comes from love. You could say it's like God speaking through you, and it feels like a movement of love. And that expands, and that changes over time. So like old habits and conditions or old seeking patterns fall away, and that movement from love becomes stronger. And it becomes less moving from an old habit or condition and more moving from this love. This love is speaking, love is acting. That's really beautiful. It's the feminine energy, the love, which is orchestrating this world. And then the masculine energy, the emptiness, is supporting it. I mean, it's no coincidence that then that's what manifests in the animal world, or in the human world, between the feminine and the masculine. Yeah. So my teacher, Roger Castillo, and Ramesh Balsika, they're two of my main teachers, used to say, in every given moment, do exactly what you feel like doing, knowing there is nobody doing anything. And the way that gets interpreted here is that in every given moment, you let love flow. And that is what you feel like doing. But Roger and Ramesh are insanely practical, so they put it into very practical terminology. Whereas, if I use the word love, I understand that in every different culture, love means different things. So it might not connect for you. However, yeah, that's what happens here, and that's what gets expressed here. I'm also the feminine expression of this, so maybe I do highlight more love, 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 love. And it really becomes about that you're really acting from presence, from this love, rather than acting from you that's trying to be better than others, that's trying to get away from fear, that's always sort of acting from this dreamland of being half asleep, dreaming about you and what you look like to others, what you're going to be. So what it also looks like to some people from the outside is that you're a bit immature or childlike because you're just really spontaneous in your action. You're not trying to act like an adult or be mature. You're just allowing it to flow out. I also notice there tends to be a lot of joy, so there might be a lot of laughter or silliness that comes up as well. Like if you ever listen to Ananda Mahima's talks, on the internet, they're translated, so you can't exactly understand what she's saying. But there's so much laughter. Like, she's laughing so much, and there's this one where this man was like really shouting at her and getting angry, and she just is laughing and, not taking it seriously, not letting that penetrate in any way. You could just hear the joy in her voice, like it just didn't touch. Yes, it might not look like the spiritual teacher in which you imagine, that's all like hum da dum bum 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 bum, hum da dum, with serious face. And this deep sounding voice, which is very calming or relaxing. Although that might come through at moments, but there's also this joy and this lightness. The feeling is that you're in love with yourself as life. It doesn't mean that sad or bad things don't happen. That's the nature of life, but your essence is in love with itself. This really is an expression of love. You love yourself as life, as beingness so much that you've separated in order to experience yourself. How much more loving can that get? You've also separated to see your possibilities. Rather than remaining dormant, you've expressed to see what your possibilities are. And these things reflect in life. Like, when you see someone being really creative and really in their fire, like that is such a divine expression of this. Like really... Because when you're really truly expressing yourself without somebody in the way and somebody making it theirs, you're fulfilling your purpose. Like that's what life wants, is to experience itself in all different ways. So they often say that, like Sangharakshita, one of my first Buddhist teachers, he used to say, the ones that are closest to enlightenment are artists, because they're like totally creative. I'm not saying I believe all these things and that they're true, because he also said, then next it's men, then there's something else, and then right at the end is women. So I'm not saying I believe that. Yeah, women are right at the bottom. Eckhart Tolle, though, just in case there's some people like, oh, yes, I have the feeling that that's true. Women really are at the bottom of the pile. But just to outdo that, Eckhart Tolle says that women are closest because we're more in touch with our feelings, we're more in touch with beingness and with love. So I know these ideas change. If you've got any fixed ideas, like artists are first, women are last, any ideas about anything, if you're fixed and stuck to them, it's most probably seeking. Like when that seeking drops away, ideas are seen for what they are. They're creative expressions which change, including the idea of you, including the idea of other people, your mother, your father, your partner, your lover, your children. All of it is changing. Your art. And to really express as an artist is to really allow that change through you. That constant creativity. Okay, so if anyone's got any questions in Zoom, you're welcome to raise your hand, or you can also write them in the chat, either in Zoom or in Telegram. If you want to join these meetings in terms of Zoom, like rather than watching it on YouTube, Then you can find out how to do that on my website under live streaming. It should be in the box below. And I have some events coming up. I have an event in the UK in August. You can find that on my website. It should be linked below under for events. And then there's one in Southern Europe coming up, a retreat in 2 weeks, but I think that's all booked up now. Yeah. But you can check and write to the organizer. Yeah, I think that's everything. Okay, we'll go to the questions. Okay, Christopher, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, Lisa.
Hi.
Very nice to see you. Lovely to see you on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, really.
So thank you for your talk. Something hit me about this fixed identity. It's a very quick question. It's also a silly question, but I said to myself, only question on ask are silly, and I hope this is going to help someone else. You talk about this fixed identity, but at the same time, what confuses me is my ego is very agitated, very frantic. It's very fixed, but at the same time, when I let go, I go into this place which is always the same and never new.
Yeah.
And which is the unmoving. So that feels more steady.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, my identity, but my identity is very loud, so it feels very present. I mean, present,
Yeah.
for lack of better word. But
Yeah.
this, which is always the same, always new, is where I keep my focus.
Yeah. Yes, that's really good practice to put your focus into that which remains the same. But this is what many teachers recommend, to remain in that. So Nisargadatta is remain in the I am. And other teachers recommend remaining in consciousness. And Nanda Mahima is keep your attention on the name of God. And it's all focusing on something which is not about you as a movement in time, not a idea, not a situation, not a conversation in your head. It's remaining on that which is always present. Eventually what happens though, that which is remaining in the I am or in consciousness gets eaten up. And then all there is that big consciousness or the big I am, which is beingness. But while that person is coming and going and there is the dissolving, the wisdom is to keep remaining in that which is still. And that which is still, its other side is absolute love. And the love side is the infinite possibilities. That's the Shakti side. And that's the wonder. Remember wonder from being a kid? And maybe you get it now a lot, the wonder. That's the wonder, the love side. And that's its partner. And they're still and they're seemingly in movement, but no fixed movement. But you can't really keep your attention on movement because movement's always happening. A friend of mine recently in an interview I did with her, she said that love is the movement. And I just thought that was so sweet, the way she phrased it. Yeah. So you remain on that which is still, and then they eventually come back together as lovers, and then that person that was doing the practice dissolves into it. And then there is presence everywhere and all things.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you, Christopher. Yes, Thomas, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to
My
see you.
last time because next week we are flying back to Canada,
Oh
and
yeah,
then we have 9 hours time difference, and
oh
I'm
yeah,
not sure if I can reach the meetings,
yeah,
but of course I can see you on YouTube.
yeah. And sometimes
Okay,
during the week I have later ones as well. In the
okay,
yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about my experience after the retreat in Berlin.
yeah.
There, after right after the retreat, I was in a phase of more humbleness
Hmm.
and more stillness in my head, and yeah, and the ego was a little bit down, a little bit, yeah, not that strong. And then, um, kind of inner turmoil came back.
Mm,
And I can feel it in my chest. It's a little bit like a vibration in my chest, and I looked a little bit deeper in it, and it's actually it's fear.
mm,
It's fear being tortured or being destroyed,
mm,
and uh, and then in my head there are more thoughts distracting me from the fear, and there are more things going on the outside distracting me
mm.
from that. But the feeling is not good. It's
Yeah.
yeah,
That is such a deep realization, and I'm sure that's most probably the very core of Thomas. It's like this fear of being tortured or abandoned or hurt by society or by others.
yeah.
It might not even go into that story.
By others, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know by whom, but by others. It's and yeah, there are situations the fear is stronger, and there are situations it's less, or it's numbed out by
Mm.
distractions.
Mm.
Yeah.
And this most probably came in at a very young age. I would say it's from previous lives,
Mm.
but some people wouldn't, and it doesn't really matter what you believe or don't believe. It's the recognition of it, and then this will have molded your whole character. It will have molded it in many ways. As a child, when you would have unconsciously feared being tortured, you would have walked away from things, you would have hidden from things, or you would have confronted things with anger or aggression, whatever it was that came up in that personality trait. And then that would have validated it. And so that habit would have grown. And then there would have been shame around it. So you would try to find ways in which to feel proud or better than other people. So, for example, maybe when you saw other people afraid, it made you feel more secure or more strong. You could pick a relationship where someone's stronger than you or weaker than you in order to validate it. And you can see that rather than moving from God, which is love, you're moving from the apparent seeker that is seeking to find freedom in time, and then your outside life reflects what the seeker's deep beliefs are. So it's
Mm.
such a profound realization. And there's different things that you can do about it. So one with these ones that are very deep like this, it's like more of a trauma release that you need to do with the body. So I think I've
Mm.
recommended it before, like TRE or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Body
recommend.
work, yoga,
Yeah,
somatic work. And then
yeah,
the other
yeah.
one is just to keep putting the attention back on the I am, the feeling of being, this moment, and just allowing it to be there and noticing when you go to numb out, when you go to avoid it, what happens with you when you're around people or work or other
Mm.
situations, when you're in the aeroplane, noticing what's happening. Don't fall asleep and try to pretend it's not there. Just notice. And it
Mm.
doesn't mean that you don't go off into all types of thoughts or illusions, but it's just noticing that too, that strong
Mm.
energy. And when it's ready, it will pass.
Mm.
And that will be exactly the right moment in time, which is also
Mm.
no time.
Mm. Yeah, what I noticed is also that the ego is became loud again
Mm.
inside, and there is a lot of judgment about others.
Mm.
But I don't talk about it. I'm a nice guy on the outside, but inside it's running.
Yeah.
I'm judging little
Yeah.
things, little situations, or what people say, or what happens, and there is always kind of an automatic judgment,
Yeah.
and that's like a underlying noise in my system.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's like my ego is talking inside, you
yeah.
know. It's a big distraction to feel the fear or to feel things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a distraction, and then it's interesting of why do you distract yourself in that way, the judgment. Is it because it makes you feel more secure, to feel better than people, like that gives you some sense of power or security? Is it because it's just a way of like not feeling the fear? Is it validating the fear, like in a way like that that people are untrustworthy or people could do something, like what is it that it gives you, that judgment? And just noticing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's to avoid the fear. It's a strategy to
Yeah,
avoid.
strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So, and all you
it,
have to do is pay attention. So one is do some body work to help like the body like loosen up, because what happens is the fear comes and then the whole body tenses, so it makes it stuck. So do some body
yeah,
work,
yeah, yeah,
but then the rest of the
yeah.
time just noticing and paying attention and being interested. And then you do that by just moving attention from the thought stream back into what's actually happening.
Okay.
Well, just to finish it off with a Roger statement, knowing that there's nobody that's doing anything, that all of that movement isn't really you. So even though there is seeming prescription here, it's actually a description of something that may or may not happen. That none of that is actually you. You are the watcher in which all of this is happening in.
Okay. Yeah, I can watch everything. That the fear and the distraction. The whole
Yeah,
thing happening on this layer on this. Yeah.
totally. Hmm. And what's really good about these periods of rest, so after the retreat there is this period of resting in yourself, is that it
Mm.
becomes really clear the difference and what the difference is. It's not about the external, it's that something gets switched back on.
Yeah.
So then there becomes less and less belief in the external happiness, and more the energy goes in and in and in.
Yeah. Being with you brings more stillness back.
Mm.
So the mind calms down.
Mm. Yeah, thanks, Thomas.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Yeah, John, you can unmute yourself.
Mm.
Hi,
Hi.
John.
My first time here. I'm
Yeah,
very happy to
welcome.
be here.
Yeah,
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you.
And Thomas, I'm in Canada, so it's not a problem with the time, at least now. I had a question. First of all, I'd just like to say how much I enjoyed your talk this morning. I found it so beautiful, so touching. And I'd spent many years studying Sri Aurobindo, and it sounded to me like just a modern version of Sri Aurobindo speaking. It just resonated with everything I'd learned from him, and it was just absolutely beautiful. So thank you for that.
Can I just have a quick comment on that just before you ask? That's what's really beautiful about these teachings, is that they belong to no one. Like in the apparent story, they're kind of being passed on, like this is the oneness thing. It's like no idea belongs to anybody.
Mhm.
So it's really beautiful. So it is like, in a way, whenever non-duality is spoken about, it's like all teachers that have taught that are speaking in a way, because it's all of life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. I had two questions. I don't know if we'll have time for the second one, but the first one, what struck me was I was speaking with a friend yesterday, and we were talking about, I was mentioning you, and I told her that you had a session today, and I'd mentioned your affinity to Nisargadatta, and she did too, and she's also a non-dual teacher, but she was saying, talking about the I am and resting in the I am, and how it was one of the most powerful practices for her in her journey. And so, I was practicing that, and even this morning, and something occurred to me, because thoughts come into the I am space with great regularity, unfortunately. But it said, part of me said, is the sense of I am just another thought? Is the sense of I am a thought, and then another thought comes, and then I remember I am again, so that's another thought? And I wondered, how do I know that my sense of I am is not just a thought about I am? Don't know if this is making any sense, but it was, I have a felt sense of I am. I can go there and there's no other thought, but is that a thought? So I don't know if that makes any sense, or if you have any thoughts on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So all teachers teach differently. So the way that I speak about it isn't necessarily exactly in line with Nisargadatta or with your friend that is a teacher. So we all have our own relationship to words. So to me, in a way, I am is sort of a thought. However, it is the gateless gateway to beingness. So to me, I am is the first expression of beingness in this life, that feeling of I am. And so I am is some way, some form of limitation. But it's like, as you go into it, it's like this portway or portal to the beingness which is beyond the I am. So if you imagine it, and other teachers speak about it differently, and some people call I am beingness, and in the past I even think I have, yeah. So if you imagine it like, if I had a light and I put it inside of the paper bag, and I poked holes inside the paper bag, and then you had light streams coming out. The light stream is the light, but it's seemingly limited. But if you go towards the light, you go back towards the infinite, and the light is the infinite. The stream of light. So I kind of see it a bit like that. Like the I am is seemingly limited, but if you go into it, it is that light of what you are. And then if you follow it back, then all limitations disappear and you dissolve into that beingness. So that's how I see the I am. It's sometimes nice, though, to ask other teachers. I feel like Nisargadatta would kind of say something similar, but just with different words.
That resonates, that resonates with me.
So in order to recognize something as the feeling of I am, there is some form of limitation. But it doesn't mean it's bad. Like, say, it's
Right.
it's a part of you, but in it, in that apparent limitation of the feeling of the I am, is that absolute expansiveness of beingness, this love.
Thank you. Should I ask my other question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Is
Yeah.
that all right?
Yeah.
There was two really. One was I looked at your retreat and I see it's sold out, but the fact of going to retreat, I've been to I think 3 or 4 of Angelo's retreats, Angelo DeLulo.
Yeah.
And I looked at going to yours and it's, as I say, it's sold out, but the fact of, is there an element of transmission that happens in retreats? Is it just the ability to be quiet and devoted for a week? I know, it's just kind of that element. I had a teacher for many years in India who used to say, you don't need to come here. You don't need to come here all the time. And I wanted to go. But what's your feeling on that? The element of being with a teacher and that element of transmission versus just devoted practice, I guess, on your own.
I think in the end, everything always has a bit of this and a bit of that in it. So it's not like one way or the other way. So satsang to me is meeting in truth. And what happens when everybody comes together to commit to meeting in truth is a ping pong thing can happen, where normally the teacher starts by speaking from that truth or that spaciousness, and then it kind of, other people begin to sense it, and then they begin to reflect it. So often by the end of the retreat, the whole group is generally more settled in who they are. But what can happen in retreat also is that which stands in the way of who you are can come up very strongly as well. But generally, even in that, there's a relaxing that's happening. So it's like a ping pong thing. And it's a meeting in truth. And it doesn't really belong to Lisa or the teacher. It's like a collective thing that happens. It's life doing this remembering expression. So that's the one part that would say yes, and then the part that would say no is that in the end, that freedom, that spaciousness is you and everywhere that you go. So it's in sitting in your chair, it's in opening the fridge, it's in working. So in another way, no, you don't have to go on retreat to remember yourself, because yourself is everywhere. You can't escape yourself. It's in the wood of your house, the door, the light, the reflections, the nature, that you can't ever leave yourself. So to go on retreat, it's the same self there that is there. So yeah, it's these contradictions.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The last one I had, if that's okay, was just, and you don't need to answer this one, you could point me in a direction, so I don't want to take up time from other people, but it was just on relationship, on being in relationship with a partner who has no interest whatsoever in this field, and has some fear of losing me to this.
Yeah.
Quite a big fear there, and it creates any tips on navigation or anywhere
Yeah.
you can point me
Yeah.
on that?
I mean, in a way, their fear is justified because it is a death of you. So there is, this seeking element that dies. So when they were relating with that seeking element, that can be scary to not have that there. But then there's this other freedom, which is just such gift to be in relation with. So my recommendation is, in every situation that you're in, you see God. So if your partner is projecting fear or making it difficult to come on retreat or not wanting you to do it, you try to see that as an expression of God and not judgmentally, like, why is God doing this? Why is the divine doing that? But that's the practice, to see all of it as God and to not get involved in their story. It doesn't mean that you're not empathetic and compassionate, but it's energetically to stay in yourself, to stay rooted in yourself and to see this as an expression of the divine. And Nanda Mahima speaks a lot about this, so she calls it householders, she's from another generation. So to the householders, she's like, you make your home the ashram. No matter what the other is doing, it is the divine. So it's always to look at it through that eye. So the next time there is conflict around that, you stay deeply rooted in the I am, and you recognize it's an expression of God. It's not an expression of somebody through time that is speaking to you. And why that happens, you give to God. You don't try and answer that. To try and control it, you give it to God. You remain in yourself and see it as God. I'm not talking so much about how you behave. I'm talking about this internal peace thing and not going into the seeking to try and resolve it or control it or hold it. Everything is opportunity. I feel like everything that you're presented with is a gift from God in order to help you on the human level expand more and more with God or into God. So everything is a divine and everything is a gift.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, really lovely to meet you here.
So really lovely to speak with you. I've been listening to some videos and I'm just delighted. Thank you.
Okay, Marta, you can unmute yourself. Hi.
I didn't have a lot of battery, so I turned off the video to save some power.
Yeah.
I don't know where my hand. I'm so grateful to be always with you. I'm actually always watching on YouTube. Just recently, I started to come to your life. Really wanted to go for the retreat, but for first, I was too lazy to book it on the beginning. And then it was sold out.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, so it doesn't matter. I had a question actually also regarding this meeting, but also the last one that I attended. You spoke about the aliveness in us and in everything. And I had some experiences which just left me a little bit questioning. Not questioning, but I just got interested when you mentioned this. Because it's just like sometimes I have this feeling of, like you said, aliveness, like a movie that plays inside, but it doesn't feel like a thought. It's just like happening actually when the thought is not there. It's just like, you know, the moment when you just inside, like behind everything. And then it's just like a movie plays inside, like of everything. And then I was just thinking, is it the aliveness you mentioned, or is it just like a mind experience?
I don't know what you mean by a movie playing of everything.
It just feels like this. So I don't know. It's just like in the moment of deep relaxation, or just like, I don't know, or after meditation.
Does it feel like there
When
is
you
like
just,
a removal from life, so there's more of a you're not a person
no,
in it?
no, I'm not the person in it. It's just like life itself of many people. It's inside. Like it's just like feels like you are just a vessel of the life, and it's just like you have the glimpse of life that's inside of you, but like of the people, it's just so fun. The experience is very funny. It happened to me a few times, like many times already. It's just like I don't I don't know how to
It
explain it.
feels like everything is inside you.
Yes, but it's like I can glimpse at it, but it's leaving. For example, let's just say we are here right now in this room and there is so many people and all of them sit, and at this moment I will just have a glimpse, like it will feel like a glimpse without the eyes and without the brain. It's from the heart space. It feels like actually all of you sit inside, and I can see you, I can feel you, I can know your thoughts, and I just watch without my eyes, without the thought. I will just see the Lisa laughing and maybe petting your cat. You don't have a cat, but for example, like,
Mm. Yeah,
nesting.
yeah. So to me, when we're waking up, all these types of experiences happen, and you could say it's an experience because you can remember it now. But what's happening in that experience is the center of you is dissolving, and so there is a shift in perspective. But I wouldn't hold on to that perspective or search for that perspective. So the attitude, which you can't really control, but we say the attitude and it's life's destiny, or whether that attitude is taken on, the attitude is an interest, So to just be interested. But it certainly sounds like that in that moment there is a fundamental letting go, and then there's a different perspective that's beginning to happen. And I just wouldn't cling to any ideas about that. So let it have its movement and do. Because what can begin to happen is that you can have all types of psychic experiences, regression, like so I was speaking to someone the other day who then started seeing dead people. Like there's all different things that can happen as you begin to stop identifying with something, and just put no limitation on it, just allowing that to happen. And if it's very joyful and loving and free, like enjoying that, and then no conclusion on it. And when it comes, and when it goes, it goes. When I was with Roger, so my teacher, I lived in the forest with him for 3 years. It was actually the bush in Australia, but yes, we say forest over here. But and I used to have these wild experiences, and he would never even let me speak about it, and so, I mean, because he didn't, I'm not saying don't speak about it from you, but this is what happened to me. And so what happened internally was I didn't give these importance. like I wanted to speak about it, and then in my head I'd be like, he just doesn't understand because he doesn't have them. Like, I would have all these like stories or something. But what happened over time of being with him is that I didn't put importance on them, and then there was an energy which was just allowing them to come and go and wasn't holding on or trying to interpret them or give them any importance. So then they were free to do what they've got to do, because this waking up is a minus program. It's a letting go, and as we let go more and more, which isn't actually something you actively do, it's something that happens, more and more parts of the human open up, more and more shadow comes to the surface, and then also these experiences which we don't talk about in society, where we begin to connect with how we should truly connect with our environment, which is a very psychic way of connecting. And that looks different for everybody, because on a human level, we'll all have had different roles in our group. So you'll have some that will be better at the emotional connection, some that are better at the environmental. Like my partner is really good at the environmental one. Like he really perceives energies and timelines in environments. So just no perspective on it, and just enjoying the ride of it, and noticing, it's the fear that comes up, it's the hanging on that comes up, but just not too much perspective. But certainly from what you describe, there is definitely falling away happening. How much falling away or how little, I can't tell that, but there is a changing from being someone to allowing like the wonder and the magic of this. And these things have really amazing consequences, because it breaks your pattern of what you think normal is, like, and what you think should be.
I don't put any importance to it. Like, I was just thinking, because you mentioned aliveness, and the experiences, sometimes they're very pleasant. Like, I see myself through eyes of my cat. That was dream. I love it. I was just sitting in the moment, and I didn't realize it. And the moment I was just like, oh my God, did it happen?
Yeah.
Going crazy. But,
Roger used to have more of these ones where he was out of the body. I did have this once with a cat, or was it a dog? It was so many years ago, where I was looking from the other animal, and then you just, at the moment, it's very normal, and then suddenly like, yeah.
But it's funny, because I'm very actually, what I started to think lately, that actually I put too little importance to some things, because I got very lazy. My life is very busy. I have 3 children, but I got so lazy. I have so little interest in so many things. And then I thought, I need some action. I already noticed, because, I put weight. It's no good. But it was just wondering me, because you said aliveness, and I was just wondering, is that the aliveness, or is it just like some kind of mind maya or something? That was just...
Yeah. And it most probably is. It most probably is the aliveness, but I just can't go in and like say for sure. Like, but it most probably it's the aliveness might still be attached to some things, but it's becoming more and more obvious, that aliveness. More and more. I can't imagine you could be possibly lazy with 3 children. Like, that is a full job. That is like a full-on experience.
No, they're very good. I really see the pattern of me when I start my spiritual. I really got a lot of lazy. So I don't know. It's just like I don't have interest in nothing that's unauthentic, or I cannot. I don't know. It's just like this. But
that's a really beautiful, because I think that humans most probably overwork and overdo it. So it's maybe like it's like becoming more naturally at peace of what we are. Animals, they rest so much more than what we do. So it's really beautiful. But we do have to move the body. What I do, now that Khaleesi, my dog, died, because Khaleesi used to make me do an hour walk at least every day. So what I do now is I put music on, and then I kind of like sit there, or I do some stretching, and then eventually, like, I put on quite dancey music, and then eventually the body gets up and just can't help dancing, and like I just dance for like half an hour or an hour just to, because otherwise the body wouldn't get any exercise.
I bought myself and I'm playing
Oh,
your
nice.
music and dancing.
Yeah, this is great exercise, drumming. Yeah, is that what it is?
But
Isn't
I
it a
have,
drum? It's a drum.
yes,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. Just in case I missed all that. Yeah, nice. Yeah.
But I wanted to thank you also because something not Thomas, I think was the person that's 2 person before was speaking about judging people. Was
Thomas,
it
I
the
think.
Thomas?
Yeah.
So it really happened to me after the last talk of yours. I also had like some judging in me. I actually judge little people. I have too big acceptance of differences of what we do. But I had some judging to unmoral behaviors of people. And after our last talk, I had like a crazy week of judging my friends. And then it just stopped everything. When I really heard to a very unmoral person, the way she was explaining her just what does it make for her? And I don't know, it's just like something changed in me. And I was actually so proud of her that she so well experienced her unmorality somehow. It was so profound for me. It's just like I had so much love for her. And it was actually interview. I won't be sharing like the details, but the interviewer was not nice to her. He was just like laughing because she was very unmoral, like in a perceiving and sexually unmoral and everything. And I got so actually upset on the interviewer for her. I was like, how come he's allowed to judge her if that's her decision, to make? And it's just like, I feel like so much of the judging just broke down in me. It's just like, and then really I noticed like last week some situation came and normally I would have like a small tendency like, oh, I wouldn't like it, oh, I don't want to in my life or something. And it's just like, I just perceive it as experience, like, oh my God, the consciousness experience itself here so, and here so, and it's just the judging broke.
Yeah. And this is like really beautiful, like subject to bring up. And in the end, ultimately you're judging yourself. Because who is your friend but yourself? Who is the interviewer but yourself? And it's like, I love this saying of Jesus, like he says about Mary Magdalena, that she was a prostitute and they wanted to stone her to death for being a prostitute. And then he's like, whoever has not sinned, throw the first stone. Like in a way. And yeah, we can look at people that have more and less empathy. So if we've got more empathy, then we're likely to be more moralistic and more concerned about other people's feelings. And then people with reduced empathy will be less like that. And we can see that as the character in time. But from a non-duality perspective, like if you really want to meet freedom, it's seeing that all of it is you. All of it is coming from you. And to really love everybody equally, the saint and the sinner. And the way that we love everybody equally is from presence. In time, in thought, it will be in the world of good and bad. I love you, I hate you, you've done right, you've done wrong. But in this moment, everybody is free. This isn't talking about like habits and conditions. Like if you need better boundaries with people, you work in the story for the body to get more boundaries. because that can happen. If you've got stronger empathy, you might not have the best boundaries. But in the moment, it's beyond boundaries. It's beyond you and them. It's like absolute love affair when you see them as this. Like, this is the place that we don't judge from, right here. And if we really open to this subject, then everything is the grace of God or the grace of divine. So everything that we come in contact with, so your friend, like there being lots of judgments about them, and then seeing someone judge her, and then realizing like that is hate, that isn't love, and then this feeling love for both, not judging either. And these things come at the perfect time, because it's all us, and all consciousness, the big consciousness is interested in, which is who you are, is waking up, is exploring itself and waking up as that exploration. So everything is a gift. Everything that we experience, everything which seems like a challenge, everything which seems like a hurdle or hurts us, is always the greatest gift. So every judgment that arises in anybody, not just you, so I'm speaking to everybody here, it's like the opportunity to expose that, to expand beyond that. We're so used to beating ourselves up in the mind and saying, I'm doing wrong, I did bad, I shouldn't do this. But it's actually what gift that these things come up so they can be seen through as not true. And then when we rest from here, always and every moment, we're beyond any judgment. Everybody is free. And this is like where you truly love your children, where you truly love your partner, where you truly love the prostitute or the saint or the sinner. Yeah.
My daughter.
Yeah, I saw her, yeah.
Think
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, beautiful, Martha.
I have to go.
Yeah. Yes, Jade, you can unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hey, Jade.
I just wanted to thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been coming to your channel for the last 6 months or so,
Yeah.
and I came across you through Angelo. And
Yeah.
that was really the time of my life that I was going into kind of pre-verbal, non-verbal shadow work. And everything that all I could really ask for was, I just want my mommy. Because my little part that was really coming forefront was just this scared little baby.
Yeah.
And I was just craving that maternal energy, that nurturing energy. So I started to kind of come and sit in your satsang, and also Pamela Wilson.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
She's such a beautiful energy.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so tremendously helpful in supporting my nervous system and just going through the process.
It's really beautiful to hear. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I just have a couple of comments to make on that. Like, firstly, I just want to really appreciate Angelo and how much he supports and advocates for women teachers. Like, we might not realize this, but that's quite rare in a male teacher. It's not that men are against women or anything. It's just maybe not taking in consideration the feminine expression and the importance of that, and how often the feminine expression is looked over. So just really appreciate Angelo in that, just for you and for everyone else. Like, that's really beautiful, special quality there.
For sure.
Yeah. And secondly, I know this, when I was releasing, you get down to this place which this voice comes out where it's like, I want my mom. It's really sweet. What I found is that after a period of that, is that what then began to come out was, I want God. So at first it was I want my mom, and it was this really childlike voice, and then the next was, I want God. I want, God. And then it'd be like, God, why have you forsaken me? Rather than, Mother, why have you left me? Or why are you not here? And I found like that was like such a healing and like close to divine call. So Papaji, he says that in wanting God, you have to already know God. So when you really truly want God and want God to its absolute max, then you dissolve into God. You know, so, and this was one of Papaji's main teachings, and I love it, is that he would say, you know, just crave freedom to its absolute max, because in that craving is the freedom. You can't crave a watermelon without knowing what a watermelon is. You can't crave something you don't know. Like anything that we imagine, we already know. And that was like such a beautiful thing, because then it's like I could see all the layers. Like at the base, it was always, I want God. And then it goes into mum or dad. Then it goes into behaviors or ways or traumas, you know, and then all these lines, and everything is always this deep calling for the divine. Every expression, you know, all your traumas were always calling for the divine in the end. But you have to go through the traumas. You can't jump stages. You have to allocate blame. You have to call for the mother. You have to heal that little part in you and see that little part, all these layers. And then eventually it connect, and you most probably connected with it lots of times before, but then there's this deeper where you really go in deep below those traumas, where it's like, I want God. And it's the most pure, divine craving there is. It's our true craving.
Yeah. You know, so in a way that when I look back, as you said, that even the trauma, even you know, whatever that seemed like that was unbearable, painful experience in life, I can really see that was grace and there was love. Yeah, and life itself has been a great inquiry.
It has.
Yeah.
What an experience this life is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I you know, I didn't really see myself as a spiritual seeker or you know, meditator or practitioner. But I see that I was actually asking, who am I, through just living my life, and life answered.
Well, that's a really beautiful comment. Yeah. You were actually asking who you were by just living your life. That's really profound. You really were.
Yeah. I'm very grateful, like, you know, the teachers and support were just right there when I really needed, and especially in the last few months of getting to know your teaching and just being here. And I wanted to just share that gratitude.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel such love. Like I really appreciate the gratitude, but it feels like such love from here. Like it's really divine, because it's like you in one way of thanking Lisa, but you're also thanking all the teachers that came before and all the teachers which will come in the future. And I too have such gratitude and love. And then at the same time, it's us. So beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jade. Oh, it's really touching. Okay, we have some questions in the chat. So Len asks, does thinking still happen? Yeah, thinking still happens. Ramesh Balsaka, he used to split it into working mind and thinking mind. So thinking mind is like the ego mind or the seeking mind, and working mind was like the functioning mind. I don't do that, but I don't split it up like that, but that's the way he did. So you have to think in order to maybe book a train ticket. I would say from my experiences that thinking drastically gets less, and through time it gets less and less and less, and imaging. And sometimes there's old seeking thoughts that come up, or old habits or conditions. And this is Katie. Not a question, just gratitude. The sweetness here is bringing tears to my eyes. I can see patterns of myself in the questions, but somehow it's also beautiful now. Oh yeah. Yeah, the sweetness here is so sweet. Yeah. I almost had tears too. Yeah, thanks, Katie. Yeah, Katie has raised a hand. You can unmute yourself. Hey,
Yeah,
Katie.
question did come up. Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, and
Yeah. So it's about the energetic expansion. I think like the question is, if I just like kind of boil it down or try to, is does it happen that that expansion, because I think for a lot of us we feel that expansion like on and off, right? Like we go out and then maybe come back in because of some contraction or identification, then we go out again, if you will. So does it feel like for you or someone else that that expansion is just out and it doesn't come back in? And that's what it is, or would you say it differently?
so, I mean, my instant reply is yes, but it's also this idea of this time, like 14 years since that happened, and that's the way it is for me, is also illusory. So it's kind of like yes, but then who would that be for? And who is that belonging to?
Because also it's always out,
It
right?
always
Like,
is
so
out,
even
yeah.
that idea
Yeah.
that it's out and in is just like an illusion. That is the
Yeah.
illusion, right? That it
Yeah.
comes into a place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You were going to say something though.
Yeah, sometimes we mistake this expansion and contraction for emotional expansion and contraction. So I can have emotional contraction, but it's in this expansiveness of what I am. So sometimes it gets confused. You can have this energetic expansion and then you can have an emotional contraction, and then it seems like that can contract too, because the seeking and the emotion. And so they can sometimes be a bit unclear, but once this shift happens, it's not really an expansion. It's just felt like that when you were contracting and expanding. Then you realize that you always were all of this, all of it. You never were limited. It never happened.
Thank you for that distinction. I think, yeah, that's helpful because I noticed that some things seem to come up to be kind of just felt or even acted out. And then it is just happening, but then there can sometimes be the mind coming in afterward that says like, that was bad,
Yeah.
when, yeah, maybe it was just, or it seems like sometimes it's just the body wanting to express something.
Mm.
And of course, like there's wise or unwise ways to do that, if you will, but yeah, that's what I relate to what you said.
Mm. Yeah, and in the end, the problem with teaching or descriptions in the positive of what it is it leads to imagination. It can create imagination. This is why Nisargadatta taught in the negative, and it was so intelligent in the way he taught, it was neti. So you're not left with an imagination, it's a minus program of what you're not. But it's always the way, it's not that then the teachers that are describing what it is are wrong, it's just the nature of speaking and teaching. But just recognizing all of this, that when the mind is saying something bad or good, it's a comparison and therefore cannot be a truth. It can only be an illusion. Yeah, thanks, Katie. Okay, so to those on YouTube, I'm gonna stop the stream now. Where are you? I just have to find YouTube. Yeah, yeah, if you're in Zoom, you can wait and turn your video on, and then I will, yeah, just spend some time with everybody, just to really see you. But in YouTube, if you want to join this, then you can find out how to do that on my website. To the live streaming, to the Zoom group community. Yeah, and please, if you appreciate this video, make sure you like and you subscribe. And I really, really wish you everything. Not one or two or three things, but every God-blessed thing.